So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let us welcome Rambhoru, am I correct? Rambhoru Devi. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really look forward to hear from you. Rambhoru Devi has been serving Srila Prabhupada's mission. She was initiated in 1974. And she has both the devotional experience of seeing ISKCON's qualitative and quantitative preaching and the effects on devotees. And she's the director and founder for Karuna Care. She has multiple degrees in the professional world. She has a bachelor degree in religious studies, and she also has a Master of Divinity degree in theology, and she has contributed immensely for our movement to do the devotee care, the Karuna care, and she will share more with us about her vision and how she used many years of her professional training to serve the Vaishnav community. And one of her major contributions, which inspires me very much personally, is training devotees to become lay ministers or chaplains and equipping devotees with different tools to continue this mission in a holistic, wholesome manner. So welcome again. Thank you very much for being with us. So we have our first question. We would like to hear more about your experience. What are the outcomes of this project that you're doing when listening to devotees, caring for devotees emotionally? How does this impact our movement? And on the other hand, what are the consequences of neglecting this aspect? What happens when we as a movement, as leaders, focus only on the quantitative preaching aspect without truly being there for devotees?
Well, it's a big question. What I've seen is that if we don't really nurture the people who come and have them experience the unconditional love that we preach so much about, they start to trust whether this philosophy is really, first of all, is it really work? Is it really, are we practicing what we preach? Are we hypocrites? That's one question. And they don't trust. If they don't, if their voices aren't heard, if they're not seen, if nobody's listening, then the question is, why should I trust leadership? Why should I trust this philosophy actually works? We could say, well, if you read the books, you'll understand, but it takes a lifetime to digest, read, chant without offense, and you may not stick around long enough to even do that if you feel that the community is jaded and not authentic. That's what I see young people really looking for today is we have enough communities preaching all kinds of different philosophies, but what people are really trying to experience is feeling cared for. It's like I don't care so much about what your message is. What speaks to me is how you make me feel. And if I feel cared for and connection, then I'm more likely to hear your message. There's a saying, rules without relationship breeds rebellion. So we've seen plenty of that. In parents, same thing. And so I think people come to the movement seeking an alternative to the impersonalism and voidism that has hurt them so badly in Kali. The impact of Rajas, Tamas, dysfunctional families, child abuse, child neglect, substance abuse, all of that stuff. People are looking for some alternative. If we're not the alternative, then they will go somewhere else. So it's just really crucial that we are people of integrity. We actually practice what we say we do, and instead of talking so much about love, we want to embody it. There are places obviously on the Vyasa and books and stuff, but at a certain moment, we need to stop talking and listen and just embody what we're trying to communicate. That's Lord Chaitanya, he preached by example. So you can tell a lot about a community by how they treat each other, how they treat children, how they treat women, how they treat their animals, all those things, speak very loudly when people come and they're like, wow, what sweet relationships you have. Yeah, I'm a new person, but I'm given respect. It's volunteer service. It's not, there's not a big pressure for me to go from 0 to 100. People are empathetic, and I can find myself belonging in a place like this. I could see myself in that place. So I just think that it's just crucial. And I'm here in a farm community in Australia. We have new people here all the time. We have a little village down in the entry. People are camping and they're volunteering and they're new and they're kind of detoxing from all kinds of habits. And if they, after a period of time, if it looks like they want to get a little more serious, we bring them up into some place called Krishnapan, which is where I live with about 12, 14 people under 30. And I'm the old lady in the community. But every week, we sit around and check in. How are you? How is it going? What are you learning? We read some Bhagavad Gita. And I'm here all the time because at my age, traveling and preaching is hard. So people come to me. And so we've created this little family kind of environment where people feel cared for. We share a kitchen. I'm in and out, they see me hanging my laundry. We share bathrooms. I'm doing it, not because I've been in the movement for 50 years that I don't want to have anything to do with new people. I'm right there with them in the same way Prabhupada lived with us as well. It was, he could see me. We could see how Prabhupada lived, what time he got up, his lifestyle, and you set the example by how you live. So I'm really close to these people. And it has made an enormous amount of difference. Yeah, yesterday we had 2 boys move up the hill to the Brahmachari ashram. We have a couple of people who have taken responsibility already. They're new, but they're already in the Pujari department. They're taking responsibility for public relations done, because they want to share what they have been given. It's really about saying thank you with service. Not trying to earn Krishna's love, but offering service is a way to say thank you and give back. So it's wonderful to see, and it doesn't take a lot. It just takes real transparency, communication, being available, listening, caring if people are sick. We've had people with COVID. We don't force them to do service. People are coming with, teas and we're taking care of each other. And that makes all the difference to feel cared for. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, it's important that you brought up how Srila Prabhupada lived together with others. He was setting that example, and because sometimes leaders wonder where to draw the line between spiritual care and emotional or other needs that people might have. So sometimes there is that dilemma. How much should we focus on these things? We're a religious organization. So this example that you gave about your community is very, it instills hope that we can create such communities. So I think the next question would be, for those leaders and those helpers who might be wondering where to draw this line, especially devotees around the world who may not have any professional training in psychology or psychotherapy or such expertise. What advice would you offer? Because you come from both the backgrounds. You came from Srila Prabhupada training you, and then you also had the training in the professional world. So what advice can you offer, especially like some do's and don'ts that can effectively support devotees? Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm not a therapist. I am a licensed professional clinical chaplain. So I have training as a therapist. I work with doctors, nurses, and social workers as a team for hospice care. And I train chaplains to go into prisons and senior homes and hospitals and do, police cars. We're first responders. And so, but what I do is not therapy, but it's therapeutic to be listened to. They've done enormous research on what happens to the nervous system when somebody genuinely is listening with empathy. Compassion is a little bit, we've kind of gotten confused what's compassion, sympathy, and empathy. In my world, empathy is just the listening with the endeavor to really understand the person. Compassion is listening with the desire to fix it. I'm listening because now I want to do something for you. But in chaplaincy or pastoral care, it's really about listening to understand. And it's a hard skill to learn because we are trained, not just as Hare Krishna devotees, but the conditioned soul has a habit of wanting to tell other people what's right. It's called the righting complex. It's, motivational interviewing. The folks discovered that it's just a knee-jerk habit we have, is we want to tell other people what we think is right. And of course, everybody in their own perspective has their own experience of Krishna and the world. And what might be right for me may not at all be right for you. And so being able to rein in this advice monster that we have, this tendency to want to give advice, to fix other people's problems because we think, well, if they would just do life like I do it, then their problems will be solved. It's not that simple. It's not black and white like that. Better to be just an empathic listener, learn how to validate. I know some people get into active listening skills if you're a coach or a counselor and you have open-ended questions and so many things. But for us, it's more about being in relationship. That's what heals. Just being in relationship, feeling oneself in what is called mutually growth fostering connection. If you're familiar with relational cultural theory, this notion that being in even with a therapist, forget about being a therapist, it's being in relationship with somebody who is genuine, authentic, responsive, available. That is already a healing experience. And they've done tests with nervous system. People, when someone is listening to you with care and the desire to really understand you, you just relax, you're not on the defensive. When people are coming at you with, I'm going to advise you, I'm going to teach you, the whole nervous system shuts down and you close, you're in defensive mode. And so you can't open yourself to really engage and learn. And so in terms of inspiring people to practice bhakti, you've got to show what that means. And it really has to be unconditional love, positive regard. And you may have personal preferences when you're in front of a person. I mean, certainly when I'm at the hospital, I meet all kinds of people who do and look like, and their habits are not things that I would be doing, but it works for them too, in terms of feeling cared for and being able to transform their life simply because they are open to exchange and feeling cared for and able to do that self-work that people don't do if they're all the time feeling threatened and defending themselves. So if as devotees, you don't have to be a therapist to do this. If we could just learn how to listen, not with the intent to try and one-up them. Often when we're listening to someone, we're thinking, oh, what am I going to say next to put them down or correct them or fix it? As I'm going to now pull out a Bhagavatam verse, but to be curious and be open to whatever you can learn from them. And vice versa. That's magic, to be able to share food. I very much am I'm very much into or a promoter of the 6 loving exchanges of Rupa Goswami, and I watch devotees interact and I realize they don't really understand what that means. If you take those 6 loving exchanges and you boil it down, it's really 3 things we're doing. And, we say, okay, offer prasadam, receive prasadam. We're sharing a meal. That's really what we want to do, is share a meal, not just get a plate of prasadam and run. The idea is to come and share a meal, revealing the mind in confidence, and hearing someone reveal their mind and heart in confidence means confidential. That's what that word means. And so that means it's not on Facebook tomorrow what you're telling me. You're bearing your heart, and it's a sacred moment. So we're sharing food, but we're also sharing story. I'm sharing my story, my heart story. You're sharing yours over a meal. Okay. And the third thing, we have offering gifts and receiving gifts. And often what I see people do, okay, I'm going to give you a maha garland, or I'm going to give you some prasadam. That's all really, really sweet and nice. But the most valuable thing you have to give as a gift is your time, because time is the one thing you never get back. You can get money back, you can get garlands back, you can get candy back, you can get maha sweets back, but you're never getting back your time. So it's the most precious thing. So sharing a meal, sharing time, and sharing story in your home or wherever you're connecting with people. This is making it a sacred moment. I would also add to that, because there's something I've noticed in all cultures, in all ancient cultures. The way communities create community is they're doing all of that around a fire. You know, whether you're a caveman, whether you're in Afghanistan and you're a shepherd and you're living outside, the way they share story, they share food, they share time around a fire. Because Krishna is the mouth of Vishnu. There's something very connecting around those things. And in all cultures, that's what creates community. So I say, let's do more of that. Let's have a bonfire and eat something together, a prasadam. Let's share stories. Let's sing. I just think that's what I notice is magic here for these young people. They love a fire and have some prasadam and sing and tell
Yeah,
stories.
sounds fantastic. I have a question around confidentiality. This point is very, very deep. It's a very profound principle that you brought up, that the six loving exchanges goes beyond external activities. It's a state of being. It's a state of helping, like being there for individuals to share our stories. In my service and in my profession, I have seen this point of confidentiality being quite a challenge. For example, I run support groups for women, and it works only if mostly I have students from all over the world, different places. And when they are from completely different places, they may never meet each other, it works. But if two people from the same community join the meeting, something or another goes wrong, in the sense one starts fearing that, like you said, tomorrow it'll be in the announcements in the WhatsApp group. Or so I'd really like you to touch upon this point, your experience on this within ISKCON.
Well, this is where trust building is so important. You know, it's very hard to repair a broken trust. And once somebody has told your story, in fact, it should be part of our ethos, our culture, is that only you have a right to tell your own story. Ethically, I do not have a right to repeat your story to others. That's yours to tell, even if it's good news. Often people are, oh, they're pregnant, they're having a baby. That's not mine to tell. They can tell their own story. Some couples don't want that news passed around, you know, for their own personal reasons. So what I'm trying to help people do, which is really hard, because in the movement, there's two types of behaviors I've noticed around conversation. One is people either avoid engaging in conversation with other devotees because they're afraid of Vaishnava aparad, you know, or criticizing it, because we fall into criticism and backbiting. It's such a anartha, you know, gossiping about other people. I mean, it's just part of a carryover from our conditioning. So people who are really serious are like, okay, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm just going to live in a community without it all connecting. The other thing that I've seen is that people get together and they talk about other people. But in terms of a relational, heart-connecting community, we have so much we could share. I can share, what am I learning about Krishna today? I mean, just go around and ask that. I do that sometimes. People go, God, I don't know, you know, or this is what I learned about Krishna today. I read this verse and it touched me so much, or something happened to me. And in this way, it's just you and me. I have the right to tell my story. And of course, to that level that you feel trust. And not everybody is trustworthy, so you have to test people. I call it poking the possum with my professional students. You know, in America, you have this animal that sometimes plays dead and he's on the road, so you don't know if he's dead or not, right? So what do? You take a stick and you poke it and see, because sometimes they fall asleep. Possums, they go to sleep. So you poke the possum to see if he moves, and then you know he's alive. And so same thing with a testing if a person's trustworthy to hold your story. You test them with a little thing. You tell them a little something that's innocuous, that's not really, but you see what they do with it. If you tell them something, are they going to now start advising, judging, pull out the whole Bhagavatam? Are they going to go and now it goes to others? Is it going to be on? If you see that they are not trustworthy, then you just don't share. And so it may well be, in terms of making groups, support groups, because I do that as well. You have to screen people. I screen people. I interview everybody in the group to see what are you doing. And we have group rules that at the beginning of every group, we recite those rules. And I make it a point to let people know that, if you're now sharing other people's business, we probably will invite you to leave the group. That's serious. It's just not okay. It's a sacred trust. And if you do that, well, I'm sorry, you have to leave the group.
Yes,
Yeah.
poking the possum. I like that. It's a very important principle for the devotees. Okay, so to conclude this particular interview, what is your message to those who are seeking help and to those who want to help?
Well, what I have realized, and it's not just my realization, but there's been enormous discovery in the last 20 years, particularly in the Department of Mental Health in Los Angeles, that the main underlying cause of mental health issues is isolation and loneliness. In fact, the Surgeon General of the US says it's the third leading cause of death in the United States is isolation and loneliness. And the way back to healing is to be in or feel oneself in the cared for or belonging to a small community. So we have, if you're a person who is isolated and lonely, reach out. Don't, if you're having problems and stuff, find some place that you can share. Isolation just makes it worse. And sometimes it is like that in the community when you don't know who to talk to because everybody has this pure devotee complex, or you're ashamed that you're not a pure devotee yet, which probably will take you lifetimes. So you might as well calm down. It's not happening overnight. Give yourself some compassion. But finding that person you can trust, you just need one person, but it better to have a community of people that you feel that safe enough to share your heart with. And so that has to be cultivated. I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he was talking about the Bhakti Vriksha, the Namahata, he was talking about a small group, maximum 12 to 15 people. What we have now in ISKCON are Bhakti Vrikshas that are 100 and more people, and you're as lost as you were when you were in the big temple community. But I know in my experience, when my husband and I were opening temples and preaching in Ireland, when we had 15, we'd start another temple. We'd throw, okay, go over there to that town, you start something else, because research again shows the larger the community is, the less responsible or ownership a person feels to show up and to participate. You think, oh God, there's 100 people who could do those garlands. I'm not needed, so I'm not going to do it. But if you have 10 of you and you're needed and you belong and people are working together as a team, that brings you back into a sense of self-worth, that you matter, that you're belonging to this community is valuable. You're not just a unknown person that people don't care about. So that would be one thing. Is just, I see this in the Christian churches as well. They are mega churches are breaking up into smaller house churches, you know, and they come to church for Christmas and Easter and big festivals like we would. But that's the model that Lord Chaitanya had. Everything was going on in homes. Nobody's living in the temple in Jagannath Puri, right? I mean, you have people who come and get prasadam. They come for festivals and stuff, but all the kirtans and stuff are happening in personal homes with people who you care about, and they care for you. If they know you, if you're sick, they're going to help you. Just like here, we have 12. We have now room for probably 14. They come for 3 months, and if they want to take another 3 months of trying it on. So that's something I would stress in terms of community building and healing, is that you need to know how to make a caring community. You know, how does a person create that environment? And you have to build trust. It means you have to know how to facilitate and be trustworthy, that you can create community. And we meet every Wednesday. The whole Krishna pad meets. We circle up in the living room, and we read some Bhagavad Gita. We sing a little bit, and then everybody goes around and checks in. What's on your heart today? What are my challenges? You know, we do the housekeeping stuff. Oh, the washing machine's not working again, you know, that kind of thing. So people can air them here, and then we can deal. We have also a joint Facebook Messenger that we're all on. So it's all day, you know, well, this is happening. We need this. We need some helpers. Who's serving prasadam today? You know, we have a Kirtan festival coming up. I need somebody to put up a Karuna Care tent. I'm making a listening tent so people can come and just listen. Come and listen. We do this in temples at programs, because we have a group of Karuna Care chaplains sitting at a tent. It says Karuna Care, changing the world one heart at a time. And it has another banner that says listening hub or tent. And then we just sit there and we're available. Come and talk. Let's come and talk. People love it, because people come to festivals, honestly, to find friends. And some of these new people, when they've come to some of our festivals, they notice that everybody has their friends already, and they come with their families. And I don't feel like I belong. I'm lonely. And how do you get in? How do you break into this community? So you need to have people available. Come over, let's talk. Who are you? Tell me about yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's lovely. Creating a sense of belonging, which everybody is looking for.
We all are.
And could you kindly tell us a little about what is Karuna Care and what's your vision for Karuna Care?
Well, I started Karuna Care in 2019 on Janmashtami. We're 5 years anniversary this year. And my vision was, having studied and practiced chaplaincy professionally for so many years, I thought, if I don't offer it back to ISKCON, then it becomes, you know, what a waste, you know. And I've had a lot of devotees say, why are you not teaching? You have Buddhists, you have Catholic priests, Protestants, Muslims, Jewish rabbis. You don't have Hare Krishna people in your group. Why not? And my answer always is, I didn't think that they were interested or even trainable. And so I just started. Various gurus and sannyasis, they said, yes, we need this. And so I just started. And gradually, from being alone, people joined and came to courses, and it has just really grown. And but it was just an attempt to try and teach what I've learned, because Prabhupada says, if you don't teach what you learn, it rots in your heart and you become envious. So it's part of our sadhana is to teach what we've learned. And somehow or other, Krishna sent different people who also had resonance, and we're in like 13 languages on a get help button, and we've grown into continents, Russia, China, you know, we're all over the place. And the purpose is just to be available to try and first of all, educate people how important it is to understand the workings of the material body and mind. It says in Bhagavad Gita, you can't really get free from the material world unless you understand the material world. First become human, and then we'll become divine. Prabhupada said that too. First learn to be a human being. We're animals when we come. Let's first become human, then we can think about transcending. And so we're on that level, and it's just about helping people understand that we're marginal. We got one foot in the spiritual world. We're spiritual beings in a material body, mind. How do we understand human behavior? And what's coming up in me, so many people have trauma who come. And when they get into a movement like us, and also like the Catholic Church that's very, very hierarchical, they get triggered. It's a trauma trigger to have people on top of you. If you have, for example, childhood sexual trauma, the last thing is you need is some, very high-powered person, putting pressure on you, even psychologically. And so you're now re-wounding, you're adding more compounded trauma. So that's where I started, was trying to educate around grief, feelings. What are they? Yes, Arjuna says the mind is uncontrollable like the wind, but you can manage the mind, you can manage the emotions. So I teach devotees, first of all, what emotions are and how they're useful, messages from the soul. What do we do with them? How can we use them in terms of creating connection? And then trauma. And of course, we know under trauma is grief, and the antidote for trauma is grief processing. So I just started there. And then we have grief support groups. So then it's just really a platform for devotees to first learn about these things, and then have some tools to help themselves. We have literature, and many of the people who started with us a few years ago are now licensed therapists and stuff, and we're putting them on our mental health list so we can refer people who need to see a trauma specialist. So it just was an attempt to do something, to try and give back and teach what we know. We're a mom and pop little thing. It's not a big, we're everywhere, but it's not like we're a corporation. There's a lot of organizations who do this bigger and better than we do, but we're taking one step at a time.
Yeah, from what I've heard in other interviews of yours, by the way, for those watching this, I will be posting some very relevant videos. I'll be posting the Bond of Love interview of Rambhoru Devi about Srila Prabhupada and her memories. And I'll also be posting some videos of her speaking about emotional challenges on devotional path. So for you to get more reference and get more of her Sangha and learn from her wisdom. So what I see is that from some of the interviews and some of your videos that I've watched is you finding that spiritual depth and you finding that healing energy, and authentically being there for others, and following your inspiration, your calling led you to this Karuna Care, and it empowered you to share that healing energy, to heal others through what healed you. So I really find that very inspirational, because I remember this analogy in the scriptures. It say Rupa Goswami says about the treasure which is underneath the ocean. In order for you to tell everybody about the treasure, you need to first go and experience that. So sometimes within our organization, we might see, like you were mentioning earlier, projects over people. There's so much emphasis on buildings or quantitative accomplishments, that even those very individuals, even in my profession, I have to handle people who are very big and a big leader in the society, but inside they're really suffering and struggling because they haven't found that authenticity, they haven't found that treasure which they're trying to distribute to others, which is a noble cause, but somewhere there's a missing link. And then we see stories of ISKCON leaders having issues and troubles. So it's so precious what you're doing.
And it really boils down to lack of self-care and boundaries. We really have trouble with that, and what I've learned as a professional is that if you don't take time to nourish your own needs, then what you end up doing is abusing other people. If you're not, we have a saying, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, halt, then you better stop. Of course, we have fast days and stuff, but some people don't fast very well and they're ready to kill you if they fast. So they don't, somebody was telling me yesterday, yeah, I don't fast very well. I'm ready to murder people if I fast, so I don't. But hungry, angry, if you notice yourself being angry, take a walk. Don't keep pushing it. You need to care for yourself. Lonely, if you're feeling isolated, lonely, somehow sit in the temple, go somewhere where there are people. Just even if you're not talking to people, your nervous system will feel a connection. We need to feel connected. We're part of the human family. And tired, gosh, so many people get burned out just because they're tired. Take a nap, eat something tasty, and you're all ready to go again. Get your hand and your bead back and get going again. And if you had a loss, this is something I've had to encourage devotees who say someone has died, they've lost their job, maybe they've lost a friend, maybe they've lost their health, their age, a body part, they're sick, and they don't have a taste to do even devotional service for a period of time. If they're grieving the loss of a loved one, they may not want to come to the temple. They may not want to chant. They may just don't give me any philosophy. I don't want to hear it. They just need some kindness and somebody to be there. And we think the antidote is now, if I can just pull out that right Bhagavad Gita verse, everything will be all right. And that's almost insulting to someone who's really hurting, is for you to come with start preaching at it, throwing verses at somebody, scripture at something. It doesn't help. In fact, it hurts more. So if we could just learn to be a good friend, I mean, that would be a big step. If we could just notice, who's isolated in the community. Reach out if you go in the temple and there's somebody sitting on the sideline alone. And maybe even somebody who's behaving in an erratic way. We have that sometimes. People come and maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe there's something going on. They're behaving. They don't know what to do in the temple. And maybe they're going backwards around Tulsi or something. People, get him out of here. People kind of get reactive. Oh, this is offensive. Get out. And take the moment to go over and find out what's going on with that person. Sometimes people are having a panic attack, they're having some kind of a psychotic break, or who knows what's going on in their home. Often there's depression, maybe they have suicidal ideations. You could save a life just by smiling and going over and just saying, what's your name? How can I help? What's going on with you today? You can save lives just by doing that, for people. But before judging people, first of all, be curious. Instead of being judgmental, and you see somebody behaving in an unusual way, well, be curious. I wonder what's going on with him right now, and let's find out first. Let them tell you what's going on rather than jumping to conclusions and making assumptions about other people. Okay, I might.
Okay, that has been super, super inspiring. And I'd really like our audience to know how they can connect with your projects, how they can help. How can we help you in different?
Okay, so we are just finishing up our 2024 courses. We have 3 introductory courses. We have a child safety course that has just been out a few months, and I encourage. We have a drama course. The drama triangle is just starting next week. We have one on self-paced Bhakti recovery course we're just launching. So after this course is finishing, this one in the next month or two, we will not have any more courses till 2025. So we're just rescheduling when they will be happening. And if anybody's interested to learn or even attend one of our courses, you want to go to our website first, which is www.karunacare.iskcon.org, and go to the trainings or courses. Drop down. We now do our courses on Kajabi platform, but you can get a QR code and it'll take you into where to enroll. But we don't yet have the dates for that. So you'll have to check back for that. We have a Get Help button also. Yes, you have courses. We have a Get Help button there. You see that Get Help button. And if you go inside that Get Help button, there's a circle. One circle says compassionate listening. Okay, so you have compassionate listening care. That's pastoral care. That's what our Karuna Care volunteer chaplains do. We have 13 languages. We have about 20 people who rotate. You fill out a form, click the disclaimer tab, just because we are not licensed counselors. I'm a licensed professional, and my my volunteer chaplains work under my credential and my liability insurance and stuff, but it has like, if you go down in the different things, you fill that out, like what's your time zone, what's your language, and a little blurb about what the issue is. And then we have a person on the other end who will blast out to our referral system. We have somebody who's living in India, a female who is struggling with something. He doesn't, to protect their confidentiality, we don't tell everybody what it is. And when one of our chaplains says, I can take them, they are committed to responding within 48 hours. So they at least respond and say, I can meet you next Saturday, or set it up. And then the person that gets this information will send a private message and say, this person's struggling with something, blah, blah, blah. We are not therapists. We don't claim to be, but what a chaplain is a first responder. We have skills to make an assessment. You can have 3 or 4 conversations if that's what you need to debrief and to figure out what is really the issue. You might just be lonely. It may not be a mental health thing. It just is you're lonely and isolated and you want to connect somewhere. So we may encourage you to do a book study group, or even take a grief support group or something. But if you have mental health issues beyond our scope of practice, then we will refer you. We have a team of psychiatrists who rotate weekly, and they can consult with you if you need medication. We have devotees who have chronic mental health issues who need medication or advice. We don't do that, but we have a team of people we can refer you to who can tell you what their best assessment is, and then you would go to your local psychiatrist to get a prescription if that was needed. And then inside there's a support group. The Bhakti Recovery group is there. And then we have grief support groups, for divorce, suicide, and also just plain old death, or, some other kind of loss. We have a button that has some resources on it, books to read, and if you're interested to learn more. But we encourage people to try and take a course, because it's very interactive. You have some video content, but then you meet at the end of the week, you're meeting with, say, 20 people and some facilitators and getting to know people who are like-minded. So that's one way to help. First of all, just join and learn some skills. And the other thing is, we have gotten so big in terms of the administrative, managing the Kajabi platform that we work on, the website that has to be updated all the time because things are changing, right? Dates but we need, because we're doing everything volunteer. And anybody who has run an organization knows that you cannot stabilize an organization on volunteer work. We have this problem in ISKCON as well. It's great if you can get people to volunteer, but people need to make a living. And so if they're making a living over here, that means they have very little time to dedicate. And if you need somebody 40 hours a week, you need to pay them a living wage. And we don't have the money to do that. We would like to fundraise. In fact, we're preparing to fundraise. If somebody is good at that sort of thing and would like to help us fundraise, we have some ideas. We have a board of directors. We could use your help if you have technology skills. If you know the Kajabi platform, it's an educational platform that we use. If you have website, WordPress skills, those kinds of things, we could perhaps use your services. But more than anything, we need funding, and we need to have predictable funding so that yearly we have enough money to be able to hire 2 administrators who are full-time, and they love doing that thing on the computer all the time, which is tedious for a lot of devotees. And but in order for the Karuna Care to be a stable organization, you need somebody who, they love that sort of thing, but we want to pay them so that they will be able to maintain their families or whatever. And we just don't have the funds yet. So money is helpful, and you can go to our website. There's a button for contributions. They can wire us through PayPal some donation. That would be great.
I will put all the links in the description box. And so this is we have been very fortunate to have you do this project in our community. So we are very honored and grateful, and out of this appreciation, it's a token of our recognizing the importance of this service. We are awarding you the Trailblazer in Community Wellness Award. So,
Never heard of it.
this is on behalf of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who is the co-minister of the ISKCON Congregational Development Ministry, and also Konteya Prabhu, who is also the co-minister. We have a division in the ISKCON Congregational Development Ministry called ISKCON Community of Love, where we are focusing more on these qualitative aspects, healing aspects, providing education, providing connections, facilitating. So we look forward to collaborate and both ways, maybe help you with your project and also send devotees who might need assistance in the expert fields that you have very expertly provided. So thank you so much for your time, your wisdom.
I'm honored. Thank you.
We look forward to hear more from you so you can give us education on these important aspects of community building.
Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.